India's tour of Zimbabwe comes to an end. One. Hi, Rob. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Yeah, how are you?
Before I could
Sorry.
just get started, I saw you waving. So first had to acknowledge your greetings, and now the more important stuff. India's tour of Zimbabwe has concluded with the 4-1 scoreline in favor of India. They did face initial hiccup with that very first game, but subsequently pulling up their socks and managing to register big wins in the following games. Now, key takeaways, we'd start with the openers, and as we all very well know, two openers who featured at least as openers in the T20 World Cup have vacated the slots. So there were auditions. Shubman Gill, we've seen him around for considerable while, over 20 T20Is now. But there were others who made their debuts, and we saw plenty of contenders now for that slot, those two slots. What do you think about the contenders?
I think Abhishek is the one that improved his stock the most with that 100. Because it wasn't just a 100 where it was a really good pitch, bad bowling, and he blasted everything and it came off. He had to play within himself a bit and then get going. And we kind of knew about the others a lot more, didn't we? That we've seen them before. Gaikwad kind of did what Gaikwad does. He scored a bit quicker than usual. Gill was pretty good, but you would expect Gill to be pretty good against the third string Zimbabwe team. There's no way India should have lost a match in that 5-match series. By the way, that's a bad
Yeah.
result. 4-1. They should have won 5-0 because Zimbabwe had probably 5 of their better players missing for that series. And yeah, India are in transition, but they shouldn't have lost any. But I think they all did well, but we learned nothing about the other three, and we learned that
Hmm.
Abhishek can do it on the international stage, which we didn't know before. It's only Zimbabwe's second or third or fourth team, so I wouldn't get too carried away with it. But Abhishek, and they also tried to bowl everybody a lot as well, and we
Yeah.
saw bits from Abhishek and we saw bits from Dubé. They mustn't get conned into thinking that those two are full-time all-rounders, because they're going to get spanked on roads against proper attacks or proper batting lineups. But yeah, I think Abhishek is the one that did the most for me, but he didn't do anything other than the 100. But that one
Yeah.
innings, is well
Exactly.
worth talking about. He didn't score a run in the other ones, did he? He got 24 runs in the other
Hmm.
three that he played.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think they've kind of still got questions like who's definitely going to be the two openers, because I don't think
Hmm.
Abhishek's a 3. I don't think that's his best position. You want him to maximise that power play for you. I actually think if you want to really go for it in the future, you go Abhishek and Jaiswal at the top, and then Gill 3, and Gaikwad is like your Gill replacement. You can't have all 4 of them playing, you just can't. But Abhishek's done
Yeah.
enough for me to have a go. I think the way cricket is going, and when you see guys like Fraser McGurk rock up and just absolutely hoon it from the first ball, teams that do that and come off, you can't rein them in. And Abhishek's been doing it consistently this year in the IPL. I think good audition. That 100 has made him the guy that should start for me, but I don't think they will. I think they'll mess it up. But yeah, Abhishek and Jaiswal would be really fun. And then if you lose one early, Gill can come in and do his thing.
Hmm. Two left-handers, interesting. That's a luxury that India has never had. In fact, managing a left-hander at the top has been an issue after Shikhar Dhawan kind of fell off the radar. But just to revisit Abhishek's rather performances. Now, Duck to kickstart his international career, slammed 100, like you mentioned, very important for him to score that 100 and also show that there are more gears to his batting than what he showed during the IPL. And then came 10, did not get to bat in the 4 T20I, and followed that up with the 14. Shubman Gill, let's zero in on his performances. The first game, he had that opportunity, he had that chance to actually take India forward, to actually stitch stands, because India were tottering at different points in that game, and that chase scored 31 from 29. And after that came that 266 from 49, 58 unbeaten in the game in which Yashasvi was going hammer and tongs at the other end, and 13 of 14 deliveries. Now, just assessing the performance, because the need of the hour is, and after the World Cup more so, there has been calls for openers who can, and again, we also have to factor in the IPL, like you mentioned, there's need for openers who can go berserk from ball one. Gill is not that batter. But India has, whenever he's featured for India, he's been preferred as an opener. Do you see that changing much, or do you see Gill changing his approach? He was a captain for this series, while Rituraj Gaikwad was rested or dropped for one game, cannot be dropped, but rested for one game. Gill featured in all of those. So, do you think Gill would change his approach, or do you think he'd continue with this approach? His batting order would shuffle. What do you anticipate?
I think that the game is changing as we watched in the IPL when we had KKR and SRH get going all the way basically, and their tactics were very clear. You gun it as hard as you can at the top, and then if you need to, neither of them really had batting lineups that said, okay, we're going to calm down now because we've lost a wicket. It was just like, well, we'll keep whacking and see how many runs we can get. I think T20 is definitely going more towards that and trying to optimize how many runs you can score. And the one thing that those two teams told us, and yes, Narayan did a freakish thing of like, no one ever caught him and he got like triple his expected runs in every game and whatever. But they showed us that if you waste the power play, teams that wasted the power play in the IPL got found out because it's so hard when
Yeah, to make
when
up for it.
SRH have just hammered 80 or 100 or on one occasion 125 against you in the power play, you're staring down the barrel of defeat immediately if the power play comes off. And you must give yourself a chance in today's cricket to maximise your power play, and that means going after it properly. And Gill, as you say, Megha, is not that guy that comes in and just smokes it on certain pitches. And I think another thing we must get towards in cricket is you can be flexible with your batting order and you go, right, this pitch is swinging loads early. So there's no
Yeah.
point in exposing Abhishek to it. Let's have Gill seeing this swing off first and kind of you want your free scoring guys to maximise the best possible batting conditions. You don't want to be two down before the balls stop swinging. So you can have Gill come in on those conditions, or if the pitch is a bit of a dog, you can have Gill and Gaikwad and go, right, listen, guys, we need to bed in here and set a platform. And I'm fine with that. But on roads, again, look at the IPL. Most games were on really good decks. No point scoring at 130 in the power play. Get someone that can score at 230, and that guy is Abhishek, and Jaiswal can do it as well. I'm glad that Jaiswal came back in this series, and because he had a quiet IPL by his standards, and showed us that he can still smoke it. I think we all knew that. But yeah, I kind of get as well the whole right hand, left hand thing, that having one of each is probably optimum. But I think we are going to move away from an anchor at the top, which has been the way in T20 cricket. It used to be two anchors at the top when it started, and then it went to one, thinking you need somebody to bat through. You don't. If you get 10 guys that score, 30 off 10, you've absolutely hammered it, haven't you? So it's a different form of cricket now than it was 5 years ago. And in getting rid of Virat and Rohit, getting rid's probably harsh, they're both retired, but in moving those two guys on,
Yeah.
you are saying we are now moving to the future, and the future of T20 cricket is hammering it at the top of the order. So I think you can have Gill sometimes. They obviously want him to captain, don't they, Gill? That's why he played them all. He's kind of being earmarked for that job in the future. I haven't seen much of his captaincy that's made me think he's going to be amazing. I think he's probably a safe pair of hands and a nice fella and all that sort of thing.
That's why.
That's fine. He's not going to upset anybody from what I can see. I don't know the guy. I don't know that much about him, but he seems like he's a low risk option, which is what a lot of teams like. Fine. But I think having Gill in your team every time is no problem, but sometimes you might not need to bat. And I think if he's willing to do that, and not say, I'm the captain, I open every game and that's that, because some days it'll be way better if you can use Abhishek and Jaiswal together and just let them blast. But we'll see. They've got loads of options, and Gaikwad is a great guy to have around for those slightly tougher conditions where 160, 170 is a good score, because and bear in mind, Gaikwad and Gill can both gun it, but both of them tend to prefer being set before they do. So you've got two guys there that don't have to be set, and I'd rather have the guys at tee off from ball one if I was picking a T20 team. But flexibility is the key.
Indeed, flexibility being the key. But even when India were flexible during the World Cup, they were very particular about their openers staying constant. Now, do you see, the first question here is, do you see all four fitting into the 11? And the second question is, do you see them fitting into the squad in the first place? Because considering the gamut of options that India have at their disposal, remember Surya Kumar Yadav would be coming back as well, and then he'd be slotting in at his irregular position. So it is going to be difficult for India to accommodate everybody. And Santosh Kumar has a question on the batting approach that has been followed by some of the Indian players, including KL Rahul, Shreyas Iyer, Hardik Pandya, and Gill. He says that they've all changed their batting styles to become anchors. Don't understand why team captain should be an anchor man. Now, KL Rahul, when he started his IPL career, he was known for his crazy shots. He was known for his quick fire batting. Took a lot of responsibility on himself. Even before he became the captain, we had begun noticing that change in his batting style. Shreyas Iyer too has not been as flamboyant, and in Hardik Pandya's case, he was considered a part of that engine room of Mumbai Indians. But once he took over as the skipper of Gujarat, he changed his batting approach entirely. Was batting primarily at number four and was playing more of an anchor's role. So, do you think their default setting should be going berserk from ball one, or do you see them sticking to their style, the style that they've developed? Although for India, Pandya during the World Cup showed the other side to his batting, the side that he started with and we knew him for.
Yeah, so you have some guys like the four mentioned there that are just really good at cricket and they can do lots of different stuff, which is brilliant. And I've seen KL, as you say, come out and absolutely explode right from the start. And he got involved with one or let's say two franchises that wanted him to anchor the innings, right? And let everybody bat around him. And that's fine. But then he kind of got stuck. And there's a bit of Josh Butler about this as well, who originally, when
But
he first started,
are you sure that communication came from the franchise, or was it something that KL Rahul himself decided? Because we've seen franchise owners, we've seen the mentors get miffed at his approach. Gautam Gambhir, Sanjeev
so
Goenka.
definitely, well, recently it was pretty public, wasn't it, that the franchise
Yeah.
wasn't happy with how he's. So I'm talking about the bit where he went from the guy that smashed it at the top to the guy that picked his spots, which is a bit like what Butler does, and sometimes he goes and sometimes he doesn't. And then he's got
Hmm.
all the way down now to just being a plodder, and that's it, kind of thing. Like his strike rate this year was really bad compared to previous years. And they were like, I think they kind of created a monster with KL because he's so capable. He's really, really good at cricket. He's like absolutely amazing and can do loads of different stuff. But he kind of made himself this anchor, or was told to be an anchor a few years ago, and now has forgotten how to smoke it. Um,
Hmm.
I think, yeah. Why are they saying the captain has to be an anchor? Don't know. I'll tell you why. It's because to be a captain, you kind of want your captain to play every single game. And for that, you need consistency, right? You can't have somebody like Abhishek or Jaiswal, as brilliant as Jaiswal is, he will never be consistent in T20s because he plays like he plays, right? And when you go to Fraser McGurk, you couldn't make that kid captain, could you? Because he's a lunatic
Yeah.
and he's going to fail. It's why Maxwell wasn't captain for Australia, because
Hmm.
by the nature of the man and how he plays, there will be times in his career where he's rested or dropped or injured for doing silly things or whatever it is. And you let those guys with that precocious talent, which Jaiswal's got, let them do their thing. Don't burden them with the captaincy. Whereas when you've got a guy like Gill who can whack it, let's not forget that. You know, I remember him going from what did he do? 182 to 200 in an
Yeah.
ODI in 3 shots, right? He
Yeah.
can do it.
Yeah.
Not many people would have done it that way either. Uh,
Hmm.
he just has to behave himself a lot more because one of those. So again, to answer the question you asked before that, can you fit these top four into your top four? Absolutely no chance. And can you fit them into a squad, your best squad if you're India? Absolutely no chance. So they're having a look at that. You've got Sky who must bat. You know, Sky's one
Yeah.
of the best on the planet. And he's in the conversation for being the best T20 bat. So he has to play, and he has to bat probably 3, and the absolute lowest he can bat is 4. Again, you
Hmm.
got to be. I really don't like it when teams go, this is our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Hmm.
and let's see how we go, because Hardik can anchor at 3 if he has to, or come, after 2 quick wickets, he can be your 4 and take his time if the conditions are difficult, or he can try and whack 15 at the end or 5 or whatever it is. Like, he's one of those guys. He's brilliant at batting, so he can do lots of different stuff. But you have to, if you're going to win World Cups and you're going to be the best team, you have to go, all right, today, Australia were quite bad at this previously. Today, Steve Smith, we don't want you to bat number 3 because this pitch is too good. Labuschagne, don't even think about it, Marnus. You're not batting today. Everyone else is getting a go before you because the conditions are really good. Other days, it's hooping round corners, black clouds. They're 2 down straight away. You need Smith and Marnus to stop you getting shot out for 80, right? You have those guys, but you don't need to use them in the same role every day, because cricket is the one sport, and it's why we love it, where everything can change in the blink of an eye because of conditions or pitch or ball or something, right? There's loads and loads of variables. So because there's loads of variables, you must be able to be flexible and kind of react on the fly to things. And you totally hamstring yourself from doing that if you have a rigid batting order. And we spoke about this last time, Megha, to massage people's egos and say, yeah, you're the captain, you're going to open every time. Well, sod that. If you're going to score at 130 and you've got a guy that always scores at 200, 200 might be overstating it a bit, but Abhishek, this version of Abhishek, absolutely hammers it. So let's have him when it's a good pitch or there's no swing early or whatever, and just, you can change that order, but you have to bat Sky. Let's face it, if Abhishek stays in, you're going to win. Right, if he stays in for 10 overs, you've scored too many, almost. Sky is a guy that you can't. It's like how a lot of franchise teams and latterly South Africa use Klassen. They know they've got probably the best T20 bat, if not definitely the best at taking spinners down, and you have to use him properly. You can't open with him, because if he nicks off to the ball that's swinging in the first 10 balls, you've wasted your most precious commodity. So what teams tend to do is they let him bat the first wicket after the power play. And they go, right, spinners are on, just take them down, do your thing. And if he's there at the end, you've scored way too many for the other team to chase. But what we haven't seen yet, and we will start seeing in the future, is when that partnership goes on too long. They've sent somebody in to bat number 4 ahead of Klassen because they've lost a couple of early ones, and that partnership goes into the 12th over with them knocking it around for 7 or 8 and over. You're wasting Klassen here. Klassen should be in. So this is why teams need to start retiring guys out, or do what Rajasthan do with Ravi Ashwin, or what Ravi Ashwin does with Rajasthan, whichever way around you think it is, and go, right, I've done my bit. I came in to stop you getting bowled out for nothing, and now I'm going to try and hit every ball for 6 because I've got, Parag behind me, or whoever it is, Hetmeyer. So yeah, there's lots of ways to do it. Again, though, we keep coming back to this. India have the luxury of having loads and loads of people to pick from, so it's a great problem to have, but they got to solve it. And I think the thing that possibly has hurt India a bit in the past is by saying, this is the batting order and this is what we're going to do, full stop. And now you've got guys like Rinku who you want to it's entry point for bats, not number.
Exactly.
That's what people need to think about more. Not, you're our number 4, we love you. It's like, Sky, you're amazing, and you must bat now, because otherwise we might not get enough balls out of you. And there are guys like, there's saw him in the Legends thing the other day, guys like Shahid Afridi. The amount of times I used to shout at the screen, let the man bat. Stop giving him 4 overs at the end. If he bats for 15 overs, he's going to score 100. Like, he's amazing at hitting 6s and 4s. Yeah. Why would you not give yourself the best chance of getting out? And yes, he might nick off first ball, so might Maxwell, but they let Maxwell have some time, don't they, to score runs. Yeah, all that stuff's really, really important.
And at one point, Shahid Afridi also had the record for the quickest ODI 100, and then he wiped that off and recreated that record. But you alluded to Rinku Singh. Now, one is left wondering, even in this series, was he not optimally utilized? First game, understandable, he got out on a duck, but then 48 unbeaten, that's still justifiable. But there was this one game, again, 4 T20, I didn't get to bat because India managed 10 wickets win. On the either side of that game, 1 unbeaten and 11 unbeaten. And more so because you for sure know that he would be a part of India's future. We saw him in the past as well. He has crazy numbers. Didn't get to make it to the final 15 of India's squad in the World Cup because of combination issues. But going ahead is a certain. So you'd want to see more of him. You'd want to put him those in those positions more where from where India would be needing him to fire. Do you think India did itself a bit of disservice by not giving Rinku enough balls?
I do, but I kind of get it because he didn't have I think the reason why he didn't play in the World Cup is because he didn't face enough balls in the IPL. And that
Yeah,
was because the
again,
rest of the
yeah.
batting lineup was doing amazing.
Hmm.
And when you've got
Hmm.
Narayan and Salt at the top of the order, the optimum score you're going to get is if you're none down because they neither of them waste balls. Narayan wastes a few early because he can't see, but basically that team is set up like it's difficult and on paper go through the team they've got now is to say what is the optimum number of balls for everybody to face, because for
Yeah.
Abhishek it's as many as possible because he doesn't slow down, he just guns it all the time. Jaiswal's very similar, so when you get those two going it's fine. What is it for Gill? And it all depends on how many down are you, what is the pitch doing, that sort of stuff. So the one where he got 11 not out off 9, India definitely didn't get as high a score as they should have done in that one. It was only against Zimbabwe, so they won easy. But if that was against a big 3 or 4 team, when you only let Rinku face 9 balls at the end, you've messed it up a bit because Parag was in there for 40 minutes and got 22 off 24 or something. That is the innings that you can do without because you've got wickets in hand and Rinku's only faced 9. If you let Rinku face all the balls that Parag faced, he's faced 33 balls. And what's he got? 60? He's got at least 50, hasn't he, if he faces
Hmm.
33?
Hmm.
And then you're getting 185 instead of 167. And that's game breaking differences. But I get
Yeah.
it, this series, because as you say, Megha, they know that Rinku's the man for the future. And they know what he can do. I mean, winning the World Cup, despite him not getting in the squad, shows you how much strength and depth India have got. But they had to go, we need to look at Samson, we need to look at Parag, we need to look at Dubey. And in India's optimum first 11, those three probably aren't playing. Like one of those three might get in. And then Rinku will face more balls because the situation dictates that he does. So this series, we didn't learn anything about Rinku, but it wasn't
Hmm.
it wasn't a series for that, was it? They kind of like, well, we just want to let you know, Rinku, that you're definitely in our plans moving forward. And sorry, we didn't pick you in the World Cup, but yeah, they didn't need to get more balls out of him because otherwise you don't get to see what the guys who are on the fringe can do. And they had to do that this series. If you're not going to do it in a 5-match series against Zimbabwe reserves, then when are you going to have a look at these guys?
Hmm. Quick fires. We've got multiple questions. You can probably pick and choose. I just run these through you. Vignesh says, "Is India's bowling stocks above average, and who do you think has a higher ceiling?" Mukesh seems to be a good bowler. He guesses so. 3 matches that he got a look in, and he fared well. And not just about his Yorkers, but also that slower bouncer that he has developed makes him decent at both the death and in the power play overs. But the challenge here is that the other contenders, how good are they when it comes to competition?
So India's bowling stocks are, when it comes to seamers, absolutely bang average, except they have the best in the world by a million miles. So at the
Yeah.
moment, they've still got 3, 4, 5 years of Bumrah left, probably. And that means they're going to be a really good bowling attack because the spin's good. The all-rounders are fine. We spoke about that last time. But the rest of the seam bowlers, you can almost pick anyone and they're going to go for about the same amount of runs and take about the same amount of wickets. I like Mukesh, but what is he, 30? Um,
Yeah.
he's not like some young kid who's going to get loads more out of him as the years go by. It's possible he's a late bloomer like Mohit or somebody that can develop these new skills with different sorts of slower balls and all that. But I think Mukesh is a guy who sometimes he's going to look brilliant and other times he's going to get spanked, just depending on how he gets on. But that's the nature of being a death bowler who's not Jasprit Bumrah, or a power play bowler that's not Jasprit Bumrah. The way cricket is now, if you bowl top and tail, you're going to get belted sometimes. and it's how you react to that and come back. And I think he did that very well this series when he got his fourfer. I like Mukesh, but at 30, probably he's not the future. And then you're looking at the other guys, and I think Arshdeep needs to come on more. I think he's not as good as he should be now, considering how good he was 2.5 years ago, if that makes sense. I thought he was going to be brilliant, and he's not quite come on. Deshpande, again, he's not as young as I thought he was,
Yeah.
if you know what I mean. Like, Deshpande has come on a lot in the last 2 years of IPLs, and it's nice to see him getting wickets. But again, Deshpande, it wouldn't surprise you if some gun hit him for 20 in an over, and it would be a shock if anyone did it to Bumrah. I think, the Indian pace is okay, but it doesn't need to be any better than okay because you've got Bumrah, so that'll be fine. I don't think we found the answer in this series because Dubé bowled too many balls and Abhishek bowled too many balls, and I don't think any pacer, I'm just looking now, I don't think any pacer kind of massively put their hand up and said, well, you're going to have to pick me moving forward, guys. Let's have another question, shall we?
Yeah, Sports Fan mentions, were you surprised with Harshit Rana not getting any chances this series? Now, it's also important to consider the fact that India went in with three pacers in each of the games. The pacers were rested alternatively, but India banged upon the other bowlers. Washington Sundar, if you consider him a proper all-rounder, he got his 4 overs in most games, 4 games at least. And then Abhishek got to bowl in almost every game. Once Shivam Dube was back, he as well bowling in the 3 games. So are you complaining about the fact that the part-timers, and I'm just referring to Shivam Dube and Abhishek Sharma as part-timers, they got to bowl so many because India has been looking for batters who can chip in with overs for the longest time, for at least a decade now. So that's probably the call that the two were answering, and India needed them to answer those questions.
Yeah, I think they're perfectly reasonable questions to ask. And again, a 5-match T20 series against a bad Zimbabwe team. You've got to try
You have
that
to
stuff out then.
finalize whether you want to call them second string, third string, fourth string, or a bad Zimbabwe team.
All of them, that's what they are. They're like third and a half string, and they're bad. They still had Raza, but
Harsh.
um, but if you are put in the squad as Harshit Rana, and you're 22 and you bowled fine in the IPL and showed like he had a bit about him for sure, you've got to be gutted that you haven't had a game there, that you haven't played. I think totally fine to give all the part-timers as much as you could. But as we said before, Dubé is never going to be the answer for a bowler. Okay, he's never going
Yeah.
to be the answer.
Okay.
If I'm trying to maybe one over to a new bat in the middle, but there's so many people that can do that. You don't need him to bowl. That's not what he's in the team for. Abhishek, totally get it. When conditions suit, he'll be fine. He's a good spin option if it's spinning. If it's not, he's not. And Washington, they gave Washington a good old go this series, didn't they? And he came back into the reckoning a lot, didn't he? With bat and
Yeah.
ball. I thought he had a great series for his future, which is really positive for India. Yeah, disappointing for Harshit Rana fans that he didn't get a go, but his time will come. I don't. What I think this says to me, this series, that India are desperate to have 4 proper bowlers and then get the overs out of other people, and that's why they gave so many to the part timers in this series. So I think that's the blueprint of a team that they want going forward, and that's okay if your 5th bowler is fine, and if it's like the Australian way of having it between Stoinis, Maxwell and somebody else, it's okay. But at the moment, India don't have 2 guys quite in that class that can definitely get 4 good overs between them. And if you get exposed in your fifth bowler now in this version of T20 cricket, those 4 overs can go for 70. And then even if you've got Bumrah, you've kind of cancelled him out because you've let bloody Abhishek bowl 3 overs when it's not turning or whatever. So yeah, there's lots to think about. I think India did quite a lot right in that series and gave everybody a go, except as the last caller pointed out, Harshit didn't get a go, and that seems very unfair. Was he injured?
Yeah. Just in for the first 2 games, and that's why probably not enough time. But yeah, even for those two games, uh, he probably should have been given a look in, but India went with three fast bowlers, so not enough room for Harshit to be accommodated. Now, Swaminathan has a question on the spinners. He says, should Akshar and Sundar open the bowling for India? And this probably could be our second last question. Now, India wanted Washington, despite the fact that he bowled in just two games during the IPL in the World Cup. But they realized that they couldn't fit him in. But there was a thought given to his selection, despite the fact that, again, not enough match practice heading into the World Cup. So India have treasured him. India have rated him highly. In IPL, we've not been seeing him perform as much or been given as many opportunities. So Washington Sundar in the IPL, if we go far back during his RCB days or the days at SRH when he'd bowl, he'd be bowling primarily in the power play overs. In this tournament, rather in the series, we've seen him bowl a lot in the middle overs. Akshar Patel as well for India got to bowl a lot in the power play overs. So, do you see them bowling in the power play overs? Is what Swaminathan is asking, or if they fit in, how do you see them being utilized?
So cricket has gone away from the spinner who doesn't turn it very much being able to bowl overs 1 and maybe 3 and get away with it. I think if Washington open right now against one of the bigger teams, he would get taken down more likely than not getting taken down. So that over could easily go for 14 or something. And if your first over is 14 for none, it sets the whole tone for the game. And you've tried to burgle an over out of a part-timer and it hasn't worked. And for 10 years plus, again, I was shouting at the screen going, what the hell is going on here? Why am I watching a rubbish off spinner go for 5 for none every game? Just hit him, just stand there and mow through the line and you've all the fields up, just smash him back over his head or whatever. And now I think that would happen. So there are occasions where if you think the pitch is going to spin loads, fine, you can do it, but not very often because nowadays you get about 10 balls of swing in T20s, an average of about 10 balls, and you must use it. So when you see these teams doing this now and going, right, we're going off spinner first over, you're like, it swings at this ground. What the hell are you doing? Because you only get 10 balls of it. Stop letting this again, precious. It's a commodity that you don't get much of. Chance for your bowlers to be on top. You've got 10 balls, and look how many times Travis Head goes if the ball is swinging early. Arshdeep will tell you he's got 2 straight through him in the last sort of 4 innings he had against him.
So it's stuck,
because they can swing the ball early. So you must use swing bowlers at the top. Some bowlers that you have in T20 cricket are actually pretty useless after the first couple of overs. Pace bowlers, David Willey would be in that category. Trent Boult, to a lesser extent, is basically every ball that he bowls is less effective as the game goes on. You want him to bowl overs 1, 3, 5, and that's probably enough for him, and don't bowl him again. Willey is overs 1 and 3 and don't bowl him again. But when you've got someone like Axar, I think Axar is used really well by India and by Delhi in that the plan is he bowls in the middle overs and sometimes later, but if they're 30 for none after 3, they go, right, Axar, can you get us a wicket, please? He's a multifaceted bowler, Axar. He's brilliant. He's an amazing cricketer. Washington isn't there yet, but they used to, SRH, wasn't it? They used to open with him when teams got 5 off him, and his power play numbers were really good. A bit like Akil. Akil, in my head, Akil's slightly better. Majib was another one that just used to bowl it pretty straight over and over again in the power play and got away with it, and it's fine. So to answer that question very quickly, no, they shouldn't open the bowling, but don't rule it out every now and again.
We might not be able to fetch the responses for each of these questions, but I'll just quickly run through them. Vignesh says, is Dubey the greatest spin hitter India have ever produced? We just got to see 1 innings from him in the series and some really beautiful sixes before he got run out. And then there are questions or there are comments around England as well. Satwik Singh says, do you think England only cares about the Ashes in red ball cricket given that they are at the bottom of the WTC table? Probably because this is about England. We can conclude with this question. Now, Ben Stokes has made his thought very clear. Even the Anderson retirement was prompted because they're looking at the Ashes, which is a year and a half down the line, and they're at the bottom of the table in the WTC, considering how good they were for a phase in between on either side of the cycle. You're left wondering, why are they at the bottom of the table?
Just to answer the previous question, no, it's not Jubei, it's Sehwag. But thanks for the question. He's the best spin hitter in Indian cricket history. England do everything to suggest that they only care about the Ashes because they, as you say, Megha, they told Anderson he had to stop playing cricket for England because they don't think he's going to be ready for the next Ashes, which is absolute nonsense. Because he's still the best bowler England have got, so he should be playing. You're trying to win the match that you're playing today, not the match that you might be playing in 18 months, because who knows who's going to get injured in the next 18 months. So
Yeah.
maybe Anderson would be the best guy to bowl in the second test or the fourth test or whatever. Like, don't rule these things out. It's madness. And England are bottom of the World Test Championship table because they couldn't care less about the World Test Championship, and that is a disservice to cricket, to the
Yeah.
competition, and to the fans. Because I would have loved to have gone and seen England play in the World Test Championship final against India at Lords or whatever. That would have been great. I would have really enjoyed that. But they don't care about that because when England played Australia in the Ashes, it was 2-2 in the Ashes, and it was a brilliant series, hotly contested, loads of fun stuff happened, and then it rained and England might have won it. But according to the World Test Championship, because cricket is backwards and stupid and run by morons, they allowed Australia to have loads more points than England for the World Test Championship. And England were like, oh, we drew the series, it's a shame we could have won it. But they couldn't care less about the number of points they got. And Australia, like, well, all we did was bowl our overs on time and we got 10 points more than you or whatever it was. Cricket is a joke, but England are kind of saying, we know it's a joke, so we're not even going to play the World Test Championship. In England's head, the World Test Championship doesn't exist. So well done to everyone else for taking it seriously. It annoys me, and we always seem to get somebody winding me up during these podcasts. So congrats to that one. But yeah, that's going to annoy me for a while, in England not taking probably the best thing in tests seriously. The World Test Championship now, I quite like it, but yeah, they couldn't care less. So as far as England are concerned, it doesn't matter.
So, are you going to carry that to your holidays in Greece? And before you answer that question, Vedang nominates Yuvraj as well. So, greatest spin hitters that India have produced. Please do share your nominations in the comment section. Let us know who do you think was or is the greatest spin hitter that India has ever produced. You could name multiple people, or you could identify the one that you like the best. Meanwhile, we'd not get to see Rob for the next 10 days, neither hear him. So, where are you headed?
I am going to read a load of cricket books lying by a pool in Greece. That's what I'm going to do.
How does that sound? Amazing. On that amazing note, we'll conclude this podcast. Thank you so much for joining. And do remember to subscribe us across our social media channels on Instagram. And if you've already subscribed to us on YouTube, do press that bell icon so that we can provide you with those updates whenever we upload a video. Thank you so much for joining. And have a great trip, Rob.
Thanks, Megha. See you soon.